So today is framing day. It's a pretty hot one too. Holy, be 30, 31 Celsius. So yeah, not meaning to offend anybody here, but that's sweat, I promise you. Anyhow, I'm going to start with removal of the form. This is the dirt that came out of the foundation dig, so it can go right back in. So just to point out, even with some of the additional precautions that I took, you can still see a slight bowing out of the concrete foundation. Now, if we were building to, eighth of an inch spec here professionally, that would be a problem, but in this case it isn't a problem at all. I'm going to frame it so that the exterior is touched and the siding can go over that, but the framing will slightly overhang on the edges, and that won't be a problem at all. So a little red light went on there. Let's try as she might. This little thing just can't handle the current draw of the compressor. So there's a little bit of a lesson there in power consumption. My guess is that the current draw on the compressor is probably in the order of 4,000 or 5,000 watts just for a couple of seconds, but the little thing can't handle it, so I won't be using the framing nailer today. It just highlights some of the challenges of working off-grid, and the big generator, the 7,500 watt jobby, is currently on the operating table with the all the wiring harness and whatnot, so won't be able to use that either. Anyway, I guess we're down a cordless drill and screws. Thank goodness I've got an abundant amount of. And framing code says 16 inches on center. I don't quite have 96 inches, so I'm electing to make the shorter, say 12-13 inch gap toward the front. It's going to be slightly heavier on the front because the peak of the roof is at the front, so that's my rationale. And that's the tool I'll be using instead of the framing nailer. It's a bit of a bummer, be a little more work, but it's really very little other option. You really know you've hit the bottom when it's just dead weight. There's no give at all. So now we can just make these finger tight before proceeding to ratchet them down. So the wind doesn't blow my form away or my framing. Alright, so it should be said that when a shed goes up on a slab like this, and I just go ahead and build the framing and all that, you may be wondering, okay, how do we ensure that the whole thing is level and plumb? Well, I've got the, well, I referred earlier to the X and the Y axis on the pad. I have the X-axis perfectly plumb, but the Y-axis isn't yet. So have a look at this. So it's leaning a little out there. So essentially, what I'm going to do is, well, I've got a ratchet strap tied to the hitch of the truck, and I'm just going to slowly ratchet this ever so slightly forward. And that's going to get me to a point where we're perfectly plumb, and that's when I'm going to put the board on. So it kind of acts as, like, you know, steel girders on a structure to you know, sort of reinforce it. And once I get all the screws into this piece, this wall will be perfectly plumb, and it'll remain that way. Oh, that's fun. Screw didn't grab. Alright, so I haven't taken a video in a while because I mean, I don't really feel like I need to outline every single step, but obviously we begin the siding and about half done. Also soffit and fascia. We got that cap on, and I cut the soffits. Not the prettiest job, but you can see the sort of custom tin work around the corners, and just working on getting the J channel up here now. If you can believe it, I am short this amount right here on the aluminum J channel, and we've got the vinyl J channel here, and this is what we start siding, the board and batten stuff. So the challenges are exactly where to put all my ventilation. So this one was fairly easy, and this one's going to be a challenge here because I can't seem to find a louver that is the diameter of this and will let enough airflow out. That fan really kicks out a lot of air, so what I'll likely do is J channel, I don't know, maybe an 18-inch square, and leave that so that I can at least finish the siding here. And just some fine tuning with the, oh, you know what, I am short here too. Wow, so I've got to buy a 10-foot stretch of aluminum J channel for about 8 inches worth of work. So anyway, that's what happens. I forgot that I'd have to do this custom stuff. So anyway, I've just got to fiddle with that, bring that down. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with the look of the gray siding. And anyway, when all that sort of stuff is done, I will put in the door and we'll have a lockable space. Okay, shed is as complete as it's going to get for the time being. The door is installed. We got a drip edge above the sill, and I've caulked around the gaps to make her reasonably watertight. Soffits are all done. I'll take you on a little tour. The exterior of this thing. I put these here for just because I wanted to get the siding done for a vent. On the other side of this is going to be the battery stack. That'll be the intake, and the exhaust will be here for when the batteries are charging, and it will exhaust the hydrogen gas. We don't want hydrogen in the shed when the possibility of the generator turning on is quite high. So we are at the back, and the eaves trough is complete with the downspout, which will drain the water down the slope. And again, the soffit is done with a little bit of trim work, and the air intake for the generator, which has been silicone caulked. And this is the one part that is currently incomplete, and the reason for that is well, that's the air exhaust, the cooling air exhaust for the generator. We also have the propane combustion exhaust, which is via a galvanized pipe that gets to about 300 Celsius. So if I had that simply sticking out, it would melt the siding pretty quick and probably burn the shed down. So I'm going to have some sort of bent pipe solution. I'm going to cut a hole right about here, and perhaps use a porcelain tile or something along those lines, and you know, something that's similar to what they would use for a wood stove inside a cabin, and that will be the solution. But for now, the focus is to get the solar power started, so this will have to wait, and we will move inside. So this is it. You can see the pipes that came up through the floor, and we are going to have the load center here with the inverter and the charge controller, along with the other bits and pieces. So this is what I'll be turning my attention to next.